Hey, Kharisma here. Welcome back to Kharisma Daily. Today I'm going to be featuring Judge Gerald Brown as he was interviewed on the Art of Dialogue. And here's what he has to say about Trump. Let's jump right into it.
How you feel about Trump saying that he did more for black people since Abraham Lincoln? You agree with that?
He actually probably has. What's going on is I had a political science major at UCLA. I made the dean's list a few times, so I didn't do bad with it. That wasn't what I wanted to get into, but it was actually a minor that became the major. And if you go down objectively and you look at the American presidents that have done things for black folk, heretofore, the number one black somebody was probably Lyndon Baines Johnson, believe it or not, in spite of the bad PR he has now. Black folk loved him back in the 60s. You probably have doing things for black folk after that would be Bill Clinton, but he did a lot of other garbage stuff too. And in third place, you would probably have Harry Truman, followed by, thanks to his wife, Eleanor, you would have Franklin Delano Roosevelt. But on top of that whole heap, you would have had Abraham Lincoln. So what is going on is Trump has exceeded what Clinton did. Trump has exceeded what LBJ did. So that wipes out everybody between now and back to Lincoln. So he's probably telling the truth. I know that I looked at the stats, and I made a point of studying statistics way back when. What winds up happening is black folk had their highest actual purchasing power under Trump since 1968 under LBJ. There were more black people employed as a percentage of the black population since 1967. There were more black officials appointed, more general officers nominated, et cetera, under Trump than at any time since 1967, 68 under LBJ. So all of that's perfectly true. And then you had the platinum plan that he was pushing through Ice Cube, which was a good thing. He pardoned Jack Johnson, which Obama boy refused to do. And Jack Johnson is a special person. For a lot of now mostly dead black Americans, he was Muhammad Ali. He was the black world's heavyweight champion before World War I, way back when. And he whipped anything and everything that got in the ring with him. And they didn't have these nice fights now with 12, used to be 15 rounds. And if you had so many knockdowns or you threw in a towel, they'd have these brutal contests that would go on for 25, 35 rounds at a time until somebody just couldn't get back up. And this man took on all comers and beat everything. And what they did is they tried to get him because he wound up getting a white wife. And that was bad because she and her homegirls used to hang around with him. And this is back before World War I, more than 100 years ago. And that just was not to happen. So they created the FBI to set the stage for coming up with what has become the Mann Act. Now, most recently, we have been exposed to the Mann Act because it's what they went after R. Kelly under, transporting women across state lines for illicit purposes. So what wound up happening was Jack Johnson and his wife were going to Europe. You had to take a steamship back then. So they were going to a seaport on the Georgia coast, and they went through a corner of Georgia. They're married, but Georgia didn't recognize that. So as soon as he stepped off the train, they busted him. They convicted him under the Mann Act. He got sentenced, but before they could get him in, he escaped fleeing to France, where he stayed for quite a while until his mother begged him to come back for one visit. And he got caught, flattened his time, got out, and then got killed in a car wreck in 1946. So this man deserved a pardon, but Obama wouldn't do it. But Trump did it. And I'm glad he did it because it was a symbolic thing. Jack Johnson was a ray of hope. He got superseded by Joe Louis, and then we had Superman, Muhammad Ali, formerly Cassius Clay, who did a whole lot of good stuff. He was smart, man. He really did it. And my brother, the late Clifford Stewart of Los Angeles, was his personal bodyguard and confidant for a long period of time. Great guy. I met him. He could talk for hours and keep everybody laughing and riveted. And he had a real personality. He was a human. He was somebody that it wasn't a matter of did you want to drink beer with him? You were there, and all of that presence engulfed you, you know. And Trump pardoned him. Jack Johnson, who was the prototype for Muhammad Ali. So that was meaningful. And Trump, I told this story the last time. I got on the bench beginning of end of the 1980s. I got on the bench, okay? And I know we had a conference in New York, the Big Apple. I hadn't been in years, so I'm cool. You know, I got some cash in my pocket, some plastic too. And it wasn't weighting me down over to one side at the time. And I had gotten divorced, you know, from a real demonic woman. And I was glad to have the opportunity to go to a couple of New York clubs with some people I hadn't seen for a while. So we're in there, and there's this tall white guy. I mean, he's by himself, but he's hanging with all the black folks. I said, who's dude? He seems to be comfy up in here. He said, oh, that's Donald Trump. I said, you know, he's building Trump Towers, you know, he's businessman, supposed to be very rich. I said, well, he seemed to be okay with the black folks. So I noticed all of the black celebrities, which I wasn't at the time, were trying to hang with him. And he was sitting at a table with a whole bunch of fine women and, you know, all of these black celebrities, stars and everything that I'd seen on TV. And on the silver screen and all of this, and, you know, he was there. So I just said, he's there. And that impressed me, because you know how sometimes it happens, oh, you know, you guys, are you all right with me being at the, you know, you don't mind if I have a drink with you, you know, hey. But he was cool. And he's done some good stuff for black folks. So it is what it is.
Wow, and there you have it. Judge Joe Brown, he's just a wealth of information. I can sit and listen to this man all day because there's things that he just, so many things and so many different topics and subjects that he is well versed on. Now, he was talking about Jack Johnson, and a little bit about Jack Johnson. He was nicknamed the Galveston Giant. He was an American boxer who, at the height of the Jim Crow era, became the first Black world heavyweight boxing champion from 1908 to 1915. His 1910 fight against James J. Jeffries was dubbed the fight of the century. Johnson defeated Jeffries, who was white, triggering dozens of race riots across the U.S. According to filmmaker Ken Burns, for more than 13 years, Jack Johnson was the most famous and the most notorious African American on earth. He is widely regarded as the most influential boxers in history, transcending boxing he became part of the culture and history of racism in the United States. And you heard from Judge Joe Brown of his demise because he married a white woman back then. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think of Judge Joe Brown's take on Trump and what he's done for Black people? And also, have you ever heard of Jack Johnson before today? I would love to hear from you. And until next time, take care, and I'll